In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to plant a cedar fence planter with spinach greens. So it's going to be super fun and productive. You're going to get tons of greens out of this little box, believe it or not. So for this project, all that you need is the cedar fence planter, obviously. You want to make sure you've got good drainage holes. So I have a little tool from my husband's toolbox. I think this is like a nail punch or something like that. But you can get a screwdriver or something just to make sure you've got really nice, good drainage holes in there. Then we also want to have our trusty weed barrier cloth for our barrier at the bottom, some scissors to cut it. Also going to have our salad, garden school salad soil mix, and then a little hand rake. And of course, we also want to have our spinach seeds. So this is actually a baby greens mix from Botanical Interest. It's created to grow in a small environment close together to create small little greens. Now you can also do this with just normal spinach seeds, but in this case I actually bought the seeds just for this project to grow small. But if this doesn't fill up my container, I may actually grab even some other seeds from another spinach seed package. So that's all you need to get started. So let's get to it. So first we're going to do, like I said, is just make sure we've got really nice drainage holes. You can drill holes in these with just a simple drill, making sure, I like to say having a good, pretty round hole, probably, what is that? I don't know, half an inch wide. Is that a half inch? I don't know. Half an inch wide every 6 inches or so. So in this board I've got 2. I probably could use even a third, but I'm just making sure the holes work and are nice and open so that the soil isn't going to get stuck in here. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this particular planter, it's homemade and it's got cracks in it. So unlike say a terracotta pot or a fabric pot or something, it is going to leach probably a little bit more than a sealed container, but that's okay. So just keep that in mind depending on where you place it. So I'm just going to cut my weed barrier cloth about to the length of this little box, and the goal again is just to keep the soil from going out of the container whenever it's watered. If you've ever kept pots in your home or grown in any kind of container, you know that every time you water, a little bit of soil comes out of the bottom. And so this just makes sure that that doesn't happen. So I'm just going to place this here in the bottom of the container. I could actually probably make a much bigger weed barrier bottom here with a bigger material, just to make sure that all my little cracks and creases don't leak. So I may actually do that real fast. So we can we'll speed up this video later, but I'm just gonna cut this so that it covers all the space so that I don't end up losing soil and making a mess with this container. So let me do that real fast. All right, I think this is gonna be better. So, oops, there goes my rake. So this is gonna provide a little bit more protection and keep the soil in on the edges, and as the, my little handiwork gets seen to be not so perfect. All right, next up is we're just gonna fill this planter up with soil, making sure to keep the weed barrier cloth against the edge of the wood planter. So we're just gonna fill it up, and this one again, because we're planting with seed, we're gonna fill it up all the way to the top of the planter with soil. I like to water my soil just a little bit before I put it in the container. That way I don't have to rely on the first watering quite as much, and those seeds are gonna touch a wet soil from the beginning. When seeds get wet and get into a dark space and they feel the soil against the exterior of their seed, they start to wake up. So that water is like a first sign to them, like, oh, it's time to germinate. So it's great to have a little bit of moisture in your seed mix your soil mix before you put it into your container. All right, gonna do this real fast. Almost done. I could just put my hands in there, but I just got my nails done and trying to protect my hands, you know what I mean? All right, here we go. Almost there. It's a bunch of scoops, more than you'd think. All right, we are good. So I'm just gonna come around here and grab my rake. So this is typically just a hand rake for cleaning up, but I'm gonna be using it to spread the seeds. As you know, as we talked about, there are a lot of different ways to plant salad garden seeds. You can plant them to give them a lot of space and let them grow to their full potential, or you can plant them closer together and, you know, make them basically just behave in a smaller space because you're going to cut them at a younger age. So it really just depends on your goal, your harvest goal, and the way that you set them out and plant them. So in this case, these spinach plants could grow to a really large size, but that's not what I'm growing them for. I'm growing them to be really small and little and cut them almost not microgreens and not sprouts, but the next level. So baby greens is what we're going for here. So with my rake, I'm just kind of, what would this be called? I'm gently kind of irritating the soil. So there's little pockets, little air pockets. One of the things that's super important as you start to get the seeds going is that there's air in the soil for the roots to start to spread out and for the seeds to get air as well as water and nutrients. All right, so spinach seeds are, I enjoy growing with them because they're a little bit larger than some of the other salad garden seeds. So you can see they're a little bit easier to handle than a, I don't know, like the aster plant family where those lettuce seeds are so tiny. So I am just gonna take my hand here and I'm just going to literally lightly sprinkle them on. So the goal is to get pretty even distribution, and my rake's gonna help me do that too. But I'm just simply kind of, you know, moving my fingers around and sprinkling like fairy dust again and again. It's kind of therapeutic. All right, so as soon as I've done that, I'll take a look and just make sure that they look pretty evenly spread out. Do you guys think they are? I think they look pretty good there. So now I'm just gonna take my rake, and again, I'm just kind of disturbing the soil just a little bit, just kind of moving them around. You always want to check what the seed package says. So it says that they're going to be planted to 1/2 inch depth and that they need to be spread apart about 3/4 inches. I don't know about you, but spreading something apart 3/4 inches is pretty impossible. So some of these are obviously going to be closer than the other, but it's really the depth that matters most. You don't want these seeds too deep because they're going to struggle so hard to get to the surface that by the time they get there, they're going to be exhausted and out of energy to keep growing. So I can still see a good number of the seeds on the surface, which is a good sign that they're not too deep. I'm now just going to take my hand and pat the seeds, making sure that they all make good contact with the seeds, with the soil. A lot of times, if you end up with seeds that when they germinate, the root almost looks like it's above the soil level, that's often a sign that the soil contact was not great. So I'm just pushing down with my hand like this. You can kind of see now it's pretty nice and firm in there. I'm trusting that all that little raking I did provided some good aeration because I did just kind of pack it in there. Then I'm just going to grab, this is when I do have to get dirty. I'm going to grab a little bit of soil, make sure it's nice and kind of sifted. And I'm just going to sift it on top here. Again, like a little bit of fairy dust, remembering that 3/4, what did it say? 1/2 inch. So barely buried in here. We don't want it too deep. And seeing a few seeds on the surface of the planter is okay. All right. There you have it, planted my spinach greens. So these can now actually, if you need to, you can put these in a windowsill indoors And you're going to need to rotate it often so that they get sunlight from both sides. You're going to see the most success if you put this in a spot, say on your patio or porch, where you're going to get about 4 hours of sun a day. Obviously, I'm going to water this in and keep it well watered until it starts to germinate, and then watch it for water after that. Again, watching the seed package, it says that the maturity is 20 to 25 days. So I'm going to count from today, 20 to 25 days from now, I should be harvesting some spinach greens right from this little pretty box. Sounds awesome, don't you think? It's definitely going to be good for you, and so much better than that spinach from the grocery store. You know what I'm talking about? All right, I hope you enjoyed this project. I can't wait to see the spinach greens that you grow in your own planter box. I'll see you in the next lesson.